Welcome to The Essence of Recovery, a podcast from the Athens Area Commencement Center in Athens, Georgia. A place for honest stories and real conversations about healing, growth, and the moments that shape us. In each episode, we sit down with individuals in recovery, their families, and professionals in the field to uncover the wisdom, challenges, breakthroughs, and everyday practices that make recovery possible. From the long-standing traditions of 12-step programs to alternative approaches and innovative models, we want to understand not just how people recover, but what recovery means in their lives. We're your hosts, Brendan Leahy.
And I'm Shauna Harris. In today's episode, we talk with Randy Parsons about his journey from a $700 a day drug habit to long-term sobriety. Randy is known as a friend to many in recovery, and I can't wait for you to hear his message of hope and healing. This is the essence of recovery. Our theme music is provided by Shauna and the Jaywalkers. When my truth comes to shore, when it's there in my hand, when I find that once more, I'm right where I stand, in the spirit of life. I know I am fine in the spirit of light. I know I'm whole. So we're going to start by introducing our guest, Randy Parsons. Hi, Randy.
Nice to meet y'all again.
Yes.
And we're going to talk today about the essence of recovery with Randy. You want to tell us how you came to be part of the Commencement Center?
Wow, it's been a long time. On August the 16th, 1991, I was loaded. And I mean fully loaded. And on August the 17th, 1991, I was signing papers to go into the Commencement Center. And I don't really know how I got here. But y'all know, some power greater than me just said, it's time. They opened the window, pushed me in, shut the window, and said, you better stay.
What was going on in your life at that time?
I had a $700 a day drug habit. I drank all the booze I could pour down and keep down. And I thought I didn't have a problem. And I've had people say, you know, well, how did you afford a $700 a day drug habit? And I said, I stole your stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's what I did. I did whatever it took to get whatever I needed. I'm not proud of that. I'm not grateful for it. I mean, I guess in a way I'm grateful that I did it. But I've made the amends I could make. But I kept searching for what I have found in recovery, outside of recovery. But this is what I was searching for my whole life. It was just a little peace of mind. Just to be able to look at you and smile and know I'm not lying. And I couldn't do it. Everything in my life was a lie. Mm-hmm. Everything. And so today I'm just so grateful for the Commencement Center and what they did and how they placed the right people in my life at the right time to get me started on a program of recovery. So I'm really glad to be here.
Right. We're thrilled to have you. you're one of the longest tenured graduates of the Commencement Center. So we obviously want to hear from you and your personal story, but you also have a perspective on the Commencement Center itself. And so we were wondering if could you tell us a little bit about I know it must have been a little bit of a blur because it was the 2-day, you don't know what happened there. I think you're not alone in that. But tell us about what was the Commencement Center like at that time? What did you do? What do you remember coming into the center?
Well, when I came in, like I say, I was in pretty bad shape. I'm not bragging about it. I was just in bad shape. And they put me in a room up by the nurses' station. Everybody else was in these rooms down the hallway, but they had put me up there so they could keep a close eye on me to make sure, bottom line, make sure I didn't die. And, I don't remember a lot about that period of time, but when I finally got out into the population, so to speak, I remember things like one time they kept saying, you got to dry your shower stall after you take a shower. And I'm like, why in the world would you do something like that? I mean, that's such a waste of time and effort. Well, I did it and found out that someone had hanged themselves in the shower stall previously back somewhere. And they made us do that. And that's just one of the things that kind of stuck with me. And I remember walking down the hall one day, and we had a big concrete pillar in the middle of the hallway. And I walked down the hall talking to somebody, and I hit that concrete pillar, and I immediately bowed up like I needed to fight. I thought somebody had hit me. That was the mentality that I was still in. And I had, my first counselor up there was a lady named Carol Rossiter. Well, I immediately got mad when they gave me a female counselor. How could they do that? What could she possibly tell me to help me do anything? And sweet Carol, she said one day we were talking about the higher power, and I said, well, just tell me what to believe in and I'll believe it. And she said, listen to the wind. Feel the wind. And I thought, this woman's crazier than I am. But she's not. And, I remember another time I was I had a counselor that was a male counselor, and I can't remember his name. But we'd go to classes, and sometimes you'd take your papers and you'd take your books, and sometimes you wouldn't. And maybe he had told me don't bring my papers, but I did. I brought them, and then when he got on me about bringing them, I wanted to bow up and fight him. That's just the mentality I was in at that time. And, I look back now, thinking back when I told you that I was signing papers, I do not to this day know what I signed. I have no idea. I could have signed saying, yes, I committed 99 felonies, killed 115 people. It wouldn't have mattered. I just signed it. I had gotten to the place where I knew that my way wasn't working. I didn't know what would work or if anything would work, but my way wasn't working anymore. So
you must have sensed that there were good people around here that were going to try to help you out.
And I remember the head man, Jim Heinzman, came in one day, and I had on my blue jeans. I didn't have, all I had of the clothes I could put in a brown paper grocery sack. And I had a pair of blue jeans, and they were clean, but they were dirty that would not come out. The dirt wouldn't come out of them. And he told me to go put on some clean blue jeans, and I said, I ain't got any, And instead of bowing up that time, I just thought, damn, I don't have anything. I'm broke. I'm just physically, mentally, spiritually broke. And I think that was kind of where the beginning of me reaching out just a little bit was there. And I'll tell you one other quick thing. I had been there we worked on a 4-week cycle on the teaching of the book Alcoholics Anonymous in there. And I had been there through a whole complete cycle and a half of another cycle. And I remember punching the guy sitting next to him. I hit him and said, "You need to really listen to this, because this is real important right here, what they're fixing to tell you." Like I had become the counselor. So anyway, that's, just some of the things. And I could think of, a million different things. And I've got some people that I'll talk about a little later on that I may bring up too. So is there anything else?
Just in terms of, all right, so you were there, obviously there was a period of detox, and then you went through a program. It sounded like it was like around 6 weeks of classes and things.
Yeah, I went in and I thought I was signing up for a 28-day program, which is kind of the normal deal, is 28-day program. And they let me go 92 days later. So, they really liked me.
They liked you. They wanted to keep you around.
They still do, Randy.
I was still helping people. Although I don't think I was helping them like I thought I was helping them. Okay. But I was helping them. So, yes,
So at the end of that time, then what happened? All right, the program ends, and then you still have to move on in life and with your recovery. What happened next?
Well, when it ended up, and I went through the inpatient and outpatient, both those programs there, and then I had signed up for a 2-year aftercare program that I would attend a meeting there on site once a week for 2 years. And I had to do a few certain things. They would have us drug tested. I'd get mad about that.
Of course.
Like why they have to go up to the big hospital and get drug tested anyway. But I met a lady there doing aftercare named Vivian Morton. And I use her name because she's gone on to wherever we go on to. But she was so powerful in my recovery. She taught me about turtles. And I don't have near enough time to tell you about that. But she also gave me a little black marble. And she told me to take that marble if I decided to drink and go out and find the biggest kudzu patch I could find, throw it out into the middle of that kudzu patch, and that I would have a easier time finding that marble than I would find in my recovery again. They knew me well. They didn't pamper me. They didn't prod me. They told me the truth. That either I did this stuff or died. That I'm grateful for now. I didn't like it when I heard it. A lot of things I didn't like when I heard it, but people loved me enough to tell me the honest truth. They weren't worried about, oh, how does he feel? He's either got to stay here and do this deal, or we're going to lose him. Because I believe if I'd ever went back out, I would have died. I believe I was really close to dying when I went there, and I wouldn't have had, just a matter of maybe a day. Because I kind of, the drugs I did and the drinking I did very heavily. Very heavily.
Now, in terms of during that aftercare time, obviously, that sounds kind of similar to what we have going on here at the Commencement Center now. It's eerily similar.
Mm-hmm.
What was going on in your life at that point? Was it a miraculous recovery and everything was rosy, or was it a slow transition
Well,
into life?
they had told me I needed to go to 90 meetings in 90 days. And I said, well, sick as I am, I had realized I was pretty sick. I went to probably 300 meetings in 90 days. I was in the meeting rooms every time I had the opportunity and could get there, because I was scared to death. If I was in that meeting, I knew I wasn't going to use there or drink there. But if I wasn't, I was afraid. And there's many times I sat with my hands under my legs, sitting on my hands, just to sit still long enough for the next meeting to come along. And I got a sponsor. They picked my first sponsor for me. Refused to let me pick a sponsor, because they told me, said, you'll tell them what to do. And that's probably right. And the funny thing is, today I sponsor the man who sponsored me at first. Wow, what a miracle.
So for our listeners who may not know what a sponsor is, can you tell us in your own words what a sponsor is?
Basically and most simply, a sponsor is a guide. That's the simplest form I can put it. They guide me and direct me as to what they have done in their recovery, and then I have the opportunity to either take it or not. You know, none of my sponsors, I've been blessed with 3 different sponsors, and now I'm working on my 4th one. None of them have ever told me what to do. They told me what they did. Here's what I did when I had that kind of situation. Try it, see how it works. If it doesn't work, try something different. But they've never been a force feeding, like you have got to do this or got to do that. Except my first sponsor said, I do want you to call me every day for some period of time. And I don't know how long we talked every day for a long, long time. And then, you know, I mean, maybe not talking every day, but staying in pretty close contact. And, you know, that's one of the many things that I got from the Commencement Center, was that suggestion of a sponsor. Because and like I told you, they picked my first sponsor.
So you, at that point, you have the program behind you. You're in aftercare. You're going to a bunch of meetings. You have a sponsor. What's going on in your life? Is your life getting better at that point? Is it helping? What was going on?
Somehow or another, when I got here, my social calendar was pretty open. I don't know about anybody else, you know, but mine was pretty open. And I think, this is just my feelings, I think many of us come into recovery trying to find recovery, and we place other things in greater importance than our own recovery. My experience has been, this is just my experience, has been, if I place my sobriety number 1 in my life, the rest of my life straightens up. I can't explain it to you. I can't tell you why it works or how it works. It just works. And I do that today, even to this far in, and that's probably one of the reasons that I'm still here.
How did you navigate employment? What was going on with your family? Were things coming together?
My second and third wife happened to be the same person.
Okay.
She is one of the main reasons that I got here, because she told me about 2 weeks before I went to the Commencement Center, she said, Randy, there's help out here and it's available for you. And of course, I didn't understand it or know what she was talking about. And when I talked to her later on, she told me that she had gone to the people in the 12-step recovery rooms, and she had told them, said, well, Randy's out here killing himself. What can I do? And they said, he may have to die, but you can get better. And she got better, you know, and she tried to pass it along, not in a sponsorship way, but just in that simple message. Now, I didn't run to the commencement center as soon as she told me. You know, I had to get a little prepared. But that's the miracle of this whole deal is one addict, one alcoholic helping another in whatever way it may be. And that's where I've gone on. But anyway, we got back together, and we stayed together for a little while, and things were kind of good and kind of not so good. You know, I mean, you got two people trying to live a brand new life, but living their old thinking, and it sometimes doesn't work. And it didn't work for us, and you know, we became closer friends, and then after we separated again than we were when we were together. At least I feel that way. In my work situation, I didn't do a whole lot of working. I was still living back at my mom and daddy's house. You know, you got to, of course, everybody said you need to get out of there. And, you know, it's like, well, where do you go? You know, I mean, it's easy to tell somebody to get out of somewhere or go somewhere and do something. But then you got to figure out how they are able to do it. So I couldn't do it at first, and finally I did move out and moved in with another recovering addict, an alcoholic, who had been clean and sober for several years longer than me. And my work situation, I ended up going back to work for some people that I had worked for before going there. And I remember saying, well, you know, now I'm in recovery, and them going around the corner of the building smoking pot don't affect me. Wrong. It affected me.
It did affect you.
It did affect me. I didn't use, but I would get madder than a hornet because they were and I couldn't.
So it was a trigger.
Yep. I mean, I had to finally just decide, you know, either I'm going to live this new life or I'm not. And I realized that I needed to take some more suggestions that were given to me. Maybe you need to look for other work, you know.
So did you make some adjustments?
I made some other arrangements and ended up working in another treatment center that used to be here in town. And we were on King Avenue, and it was called King Avenue. It was a treatment center.
What was your role at that treatment center?
I was a house parent. I stayed overnight with the clients in our apartments we had and helped them facilitate their lives into better things, you know, like how do they cook, or you know, maybe you want to think about brushing your teeth, or, you know, things like just little things of living that we sometimes, I mean, you get a kid come in here, maybe they hadn't brushed his teeth in 6 or 8 years. You know, he'd be like me now, I don't have any. But, yeah, that was a big deal there. I actually spent more time with our clients than the counselors themselves did, by far. So I'm not saying I was a big influence on the clients, but I've had many people come up to me, and they say, Randy, how you doing? I'm fine. Are you still working at such and such a place? I'd say, yeah, and there'd be somebody that had come through there. Some of them sober, some of them not, you know. I had to get honest about working with people, and I've got people that are, some of the people I've worked with are sober, some of them are drunk, and a good many of them are dead. And that's just the truth. You know, that's reality, is life, and I didn't have a thing to do with any of it. I was just the middleman in the deal, being to help and guide them along the path to hopefully find their way out of the darkness. Because it just gets darker and darker and darker and darker and darker and darker.
So by now, in your recovery, had that fear subsided? The fear that kept you going to 130 meetings or 300 meetings in 90 days? Was that starting to get better for you?
Much, much better. I started going, you know, I remember going to meetings because I had to, then kind of going to meetings because I needed to, and finally going to meetings because I want to. And I remember one time saying, how long have I got to go to these damn no meetings? And one of the old timers said, till you want to. So that's where I'm at today. I go because I want to, and I wish, you know, my health is not good. It's really bad, but and I can't go to the meetings like I used to, and like I'd love to now. I mean, I can't tell you how much I miss them. I miss them greatly. But I know that I'm not sober because of the meetings. But that's where I do my work. That's where my mama would say, that's where you're doing your ministry. You know, I mean, and ministry doesn't just have to be a church ministry. It can be done in all different fields of life. So, there we
Well,
go.
if it's not the meetings that keep you sober, what is it?
A power greater than myself. And I don't know, you know, I used to think he was an old white bearded man, lived in the upstairs somewhere and had a rocking chair and sat there and watched me. But now he's just my best friend. He's just my best friend. I can talk to him about anything. I can talk to him in any way. You know, happy, sad, mad, glad, whatever. And I can tell you today, beyond any shadow of doubt in my mind, that I'm sober today by grace of a power greater than myself. Now, what you choose to call that is your business. But I will tell you this. If yours ain't working, you can borrow mine till you get you one that does work. Because he's big enough to handle everything. But that's just me. You know, it may not be your experience. But I had to realize it wasn't me that was doing it. Even if I did go to 100 meetings in 90 days or 300 meetings in 90 days or read the big book every day, it was not me that was keeping me sober. It was something greater than me, whatever. I don't know what it is.
Well, that's an interesting, and we obviously want to learn from you because you've been sober for a long time, and it is the higher power. But what are some things that you did to get in touch with that higher power? What are some of the actionable things that we could learn from you to teach other folks? How did you obviously achieved sobriety? What do you do to maintain it for such a long period of time?
Well, I had the same suggestions that many of them nowadays get. Excuse me. Say please in the morning and thank you at night. And I thought, that's crazy. That don't have anything to do with my drinking. It's got a lot to do with my drinking, and that's where I started. And my relationship with this power has grown through the years. to where I'm at today, I can't go to meetings. I'm not driving. I haven't had my keys taken away yet, but I've just kind of laid them aside and don't drive. And I can tell you that me and my higher power, we just sit and talk a lot when I'm there at the house by myself. And most of the time I'm just saying thank you. Just thank you. I thank him for the good and the bad as well. I mean, it's amazing to me how, like I hate to harp on it, but my health is bad. But how I can be so grateful in the midst of all the chaos that my health has. I mean, I'm just amazed. Now, yes, I'd like to go to meetings. I'd like to be able to go, and there's plenty of people that say, Randy will come get you. It's not to come and getting me and taking me. It's that I'm just not physically able to do. I'm just not. But this power great, and all I can tell people is this: just try it. Just try it. Give it an honest try. Try saying please in the morning and thank you at night. If you don't take a drink, you say thank you. And if you get up in the morning, you say, please don't let me take a drink. Wow. It's every day. And that relationship has grown and grown and grown. And and like I said, even when the things are tough and down, maybe my higher power's got some lesson in there for me to learn. Maybe there's something I need to really take a look at. I don't know. I don't know where we are, but I was looking back. I took a couple of notes, and some people that kind of touched me. Where are we at on time? Are we?
We have as much time as we want.
Well, we'll be getting out of here about 3 days from tomorrow. I told y'all about Vivian Morton, and there was another man in one of the 12-step rooms around here. Jim Hudson was a big, important person in my life. He was a crusty old lawyer, and he didn't do things the way I thought he should do them, but he'd been sober a long time. He was a good friend of mine. I used to drink with him before he got sober, and we did a lot of crazy things together. I mentioned Carol Roster, one of my counselors, and there was another gentleman named Dwayne Book, and I need to tell you this quick story.
Great.
Dwayne was not an aftercare counselor, outpatient counselor at the commencement center back when I went through there. And he gave me my first big book. When I first came in there, they gave me the copy of the NA book. And that's kind of where they were guiding me to because of my heavy drug use. And I had to tell you this, I go back, I went to probably, of those 300 meetings, probably 160 or 70 of them were NA meetings. And then I went to AA. But I ended up finding the recovery I was seeking in the rooms of AA. So that's just for me. That's not telling you what you need to do. That's just telling you what worked for me.
Yeah.
And but anyway, I had met him, and he was a very smart man, and he was working at the hospital there when I was there. But he was going to be a doctor. That's his main object, was to be a doctor. And he gave me this book, and when I got out of treatment, somehow or another our paths split up, and I couldn't find out anything about him. I couldn't find out where he went. Nobody knew where he'd gone to. I found out later he'd gone to Duke University, which is a pretty good medical school to go to, I think. And so one day, me and my sponsor, Jimmy C., we were in Asheville, North Carolina. We did everything together in recovery. We went here and there. Anytime something was going on, we'd go. So we went to this function in Asheville, North Carolina. And they had 6 or 8 different meetings, and I was one meeting I wanted to attend. And I went down the hall and could not even get in the room. It was so packed. And I got frustrated, and really I got kind of mad, you know. God, why don't you take care of me? Blah, 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 blah. So I go down to another meeting, and I sit in there, and it ended up being a good meeting. I can't tell you now what we're talking about, but it was some topic on something to do with recovery. And we got ready to end up and stand up next to each other and hold hands and pray. Now, I'd been looking for this guy, Dwayne Book, for 4 or 5 years. I mean, he was very powerful in my life back when I was in the commencement center, and I wanted to tell him thank you again. But I wasn't, beating the bushes about it. So anyway, we stand up and we hold hands, and we start praying. And I hear this voice. And this voice is right next to me. And this voice is Dwayne Book. And I'm holding his hand, praying the Lord's Prayer. Wow. Coincidence? I think not. At exactly the right moment in my higher power's time, whatever that may be, he has put people, places, and things in my life when I have been open to them. But I can shut that higher power out. I am stronger than my higher power in that respect. I can shut him out and close him off completely. And eventually, y'all know what I'll do. I'll take the drink, or I'll eat the pistol or something.
Yeah, I was wondering if relapse has been a part of your story. It's part of so many stories.
People talk about the one-chip wonders, and I only have picked up one white chip. But I relapsed every day for 30-something years trying to get here. When I look at it that way. But since I've gotten here, I have not had to pick up another white chip. Wow. And I believe today it's because I placed my sobriety number one in my life. My sobriety is more important than my daughter, my grandchildren, my job whenever I had a job. I'm retired now. My friends, my home, my money. It's more important than any of those things, because I can tell you, without sobriety, I have none of those things at all. I'm real big about when I work with newcomers, and I tell them the same thing. I don't care what you did, but we're going to find out why you did what you did. I mean, it don't matter to me if you kill 50 people. I don't care. But now, why did you kill those 50 people? That's what me and you going to look at.
So that's an interesting thing. You talked early on in your recovery, you went to that treatment facility and you kind of took on a helper, counselor, leadership role. Can you talk to us a little bit about reaching out to other people, helping other people? What has that been like? Has that benefited you? What's your perspective on reaching out? I know it's been said that in order to keep it, you have to give it away. Love to hear your perspectives on that.
It was recommended to me to maybe it was time to sponsor people, probably 6 months sober, somewhere around there. And I'll just be honest with you, I have had people come to me, many, many people come to me and say, will you sponsor me? And I say, yes, but here's a couple of things I want you to do. First you got to decide, do you really want to stop? A lot of us just want to get the heat off. But we really want to drink. It's what we really want to do. And I said, if you want that, I can share with you what has worked for me. And I have sponsored tons of people. I had a limit. I'd sponsor no more than 15 people. And I sponsored 15, 16 guys for 20 years. I sponsored a lot of people. Well, it's what works. And I'm not bragging on it. I'm just telling you how I was placed in that position. And now I'm down to 2. I still sponsor Gus. And Gus is celebrating 13 years today.
Oh, today?
Today. And I sponsored Jimmy P., and he's just celebrated 36 years at the 1st of November. And why I've been picked to do this, I can't tell you. But it's been given to me as a job to do. This is my job. This is my life. And, I've had people say, well, I didn't come here to hang out and hide out in the 12-step rooms. I said, a whole lot better than where I was hiding out. I don't know about you, but I wasn't, I'd go in the bathroom and stay in there for days. Trying to hide out.
So when you're working with your sponsees, do you have what's your approach? Is there a philosophy? Are there techniques? What do you do?
Each and every one of them are individuals. And they each and every one have some people need to be, for lack of a better word, coddled a little bit. And some of them need to be told, do this or die. Kind of like Randy. But each one has a different, and there's no way to know that until you deal with them. There's no way to know that. I ended up, I tell you what I do, though. I point them in the direction of service. And we can all, there's a job for everybody in the 12-step rooms. You can do something. You can make coffee. You can set the room up. You can clean up the floor. You can pick up trash. There's something you can do for somebody else. And I had a hard time at first meeting people. I've not always been a gregarious person. I think that's the right word. Sounds good anyway.
It sounds great.
And I can remember going to one of my sponsors, and I said, I was crying, and I said, I ain't got no friends. And he said, well, Randy, do you know how to have a friend? And I said, if I did, I'd have some. And he said, how you have a friend is you be a friend. You have to stick your hand out and quit sitting there and expecting them to come over there and jerk your ass up and hug you all the time. You've got to put yourself on the line. And I started doing that, and things worked out.
And that was a big change for you.
Yeah. And I'll tell you right quickly, I want to spend a minute or two on this last gentleman. Jimmy C. was my sponsor he passed away a few years ago. But me and Jimmy got really, really close. We became sponsors of each other. And we went a lot of places, and we did a lot of things, and we never once argued about anything. But we were on, especially the political scene, we were on both the opposite ends of the spectrum on there. But we never argued religion. We just chose not to do it. You don't have to argue. You don't have to attend every argument you're invited to. That's what we think about it. And, you know, when he passed away, I went to see him. He was in his children's home up in Tyrone, Georgia. And I bent down and kissed him on the lips. That's okay, too. And I said, save me a seat. And I know he's got me a seat waiting. Wherever we go, wherever it is and however we get there. We doing okay on time?
We sure are.
And I'll tell you, I wore this shirt. It's a 2010 AA prepaid convention shirt, and I was highly involved in the prepaid conventions we've had here in Athens. And today my daughter is in the rooms. And that would take a whole nother 2 or 3 years to talk about. But she's one of the committee chairpersons for the prepaid convention coming to Athens in 2027.
That's wonderful.
Wow. Big time miracles. Miracles occur in here. And they happen in the rooms of AA or NA or CA or whatever A you're doing. You know, I had to reach across the hall and go to Al-Anon. You know, I was Mr. AA for a while. Had everything all together until that daughter came back into my life. Anyway, I remember going to an Al-Anon meeting, and they let me rant and rave for a little while, 15 or 20 minutes, and this lady, she said, Randy, it's not about her, it's about you. And I went, ugh. That's what they've been telling me for 25 years across the hall. And I could not see it or get it. Couldn't. It was just not there. So today we have a wonderful relationship, me and this daughter, and she is she's making her mama real happy. Her mama passed away with 30 years or so of sobriety, and was, like I said, one of the big reasons for me getting here. Strange way, she was probably a big reason for her getting here. So, anything else you want to talk about?
I have one more question.
Sure.
The problem of addiction is huge. There's just countless people that are in the throes of it, struggling. Some people are making moves in the right direction. Other people are making moves in the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Based on your life and your experiences and what you've been through, what's your advice to them?
One of the hardest things in the world to do is to watch somebody not grasp what you have, to see them continue down that path, to continue into that darkness, wherever that darkness may lead them. That's been but I had to finally come to terms with the fact, and that's real important, that it just wasn't me meant to be with them. Whatever I was sharing with them wasn't working. Maybe that next 30-day guy down here can share something with them. But people are going to die in recovery. It's just, I don't know, it's just the way it is. And it's getting worse rather than better, in my opinion, because of the things that are available out here are much, much more deadlier. There's no way, had fentanyl been around, that I would not have used it. And I'm not going to, I know me well enough to say, I'd have used it. I'd have tried, because I'd try anything, at least once. And if I had used it in the ways that I used the other chemicals that I ingested, it would have killed me. It's a tough thing, and all I can tell you is, once again, going back to this power greater than yourself, whatever that may be, ask for guidance and direction. Make yourself available, and He will place in your life whatever you need. He, she, it, them, they, whatever you call it. I just use the he, and it's just what works for me. And I am, I'm still on a path of growing and nurturing this higher power, and I've sought out many, many different ways. I've done some, I've looked at some Asian things. Didn't seem to make sense to me, so I've tried something else, and I've gone back to my higher power of when I was a child. And that kind of makes some sense to me today, But I think really it doesn't matter. I believe they all sit down at the same dinner table and eat together.
Yes. Well, I just want to thank you, Randy, for being here. And you have helped countless men and women in their journey of sobriety, myself included. And through this podcast, you will go on to continue helping people. So we really thank you for being here today.
I thank y'all, and that's my hope, is that somehow my higher power uses me to help somebody else find their way out of this darkness.
Well, that's clearly been the case. We really appreciate you coming and taking the time to talk with us today.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us on this journey today, where we've learned about one man's path to sobriety. Every story of recovery lights the path for someone else. Thank you for joining us today and exploring the essence of recovery. We support you on your journey, and we look forward to continuing this work together in the episodes ahead.
Until next time, may the light you found here guide you forward, and may your own story shine for someone who needs it. This podcast is sponsored by the Athens Area Commencement Center in Athens, Georgia. Thank you for being here.